Hello, world. We're here, serving Savannah, Atlanta, Jacksonville, Brooklyn, Houston, Philadelphia, Los Angeles, and the world. The best music all the time. The greatest songs ever made, every time. Tune in to Hot 2100 Savannah and get a taste for your ears. Hot 2100 Savannah, serving Savannah and the world.
All right, it's Sunday and we're back on the Watchdogs. Our Clinton, our normal introduction. I didn't click the right button, so that's why we had the introduction that we had. And so anyway, what we got? How's it going?
Pretty good. It's going pretty good. Taxes are ridiculously high, but hopefully we can do something about that locally.
Well, look at the bright side. Donald Trump said he's going to try to give you a $2,000 check.
Yeah, but he's just giving back money he already took from the people.
Exactly.
You know?
That's the part I don't understand why people are being fooled by. It's like you probably spent anywhere up to $3,000 in interest rates and excessive prices on food and stuff like that, and you get $2,000 back and we get excited. That's okay. Okay, I'll go with it.
I don't mind a refund, but I know it's just circling, the money. It's not really, a benefit. It's just how, like, hey, that money we took from you, here, have it back.
Well, some of it back. You ever seen a dog? You ever seen a dog chase its tail?
Yeah.
That's exactly what this is.
Yeah. But, so, it's hopefully it will inspire people to start new companies, pay off bills. It's only $2,000, but maybe it'll motivate, America as a whole. I mean, it can't hurt,
Well, speaking of taxes, I found it interesting, and someone posted this. We elected new public service commissioners with the hopes of saving money on our electric bill and utilities.
Yeah.
We voted for a SPLOST.
Yeah, that ain't what happened.
That's in Chatham County.
Let me tell you, every time they go over budget, they're going to propose a new SPLOST program. Every time. Here's an idea. Rather than making new SPLOST programs, why don't you actually balance the budget? Quit wasting it on things that are not needed. The $400 million that was blown on the public school buildings, that wasn't necessary. That money should have been spent on personnel, and that money should have been spent on new textbooks. Not new buildings that they can't even afford to maintain. Not electric school buses that they have to hire specialized mechanics to work on, and order parts that are probably more expensive. So, we become short-sighted, and we have less people, or shall I say, going to K through 12. The student body has dropped, so there's no justification for more elaborate buildings that look like courthouses that are 10 times bigger. And as I said, we don't have the money to maintain them. So what they want, they want more tax revenue in a SPLOST program or something else they create to fund the maintenance of these buildings that should have never been built.
Well, I can tell you, I was one who was totally against, I'm in the education world, so I am well aware that big shiny buildings don't impact learning. There's zero correlation between the building and learning. How we got those big gigantic groves, which was supposed to be an elementary, middle school, and high school all in one, which was pretty much not the smartest idea in the first place, because you just open yourself up to a lot of issues and a lot of what ifs. So that whole was a mess. I think, I love I love the fact that Jenkins High School and Windsor Forest got new schools, but I think I'm like you, we are spending way too much money on facilities.
Yep.
And for what? I mean, we could renovate what we have. Some people say, well, you don't know what's behind the walls. Well, you can renovate what you have.
We made this mistake with downtown. We're renovating the buildings and revitalizing downtown. We sold it off to SCAD. And now we're angry and we're complaining that we think SCAD's not contributing enough to Savannah. Well, you sold them everything.
Well, here's the thing. I don't, this may exist. I don't know. But since SCAD pays zero taxes, why not create a memorandum of understanding where there is some type of revitalization efforts as a pro bono effort? That's probably too much, though.
No, we talked about that, but no one's introduced it. And I'm not against SCAD. They saw it.
I'm not either.
Yeah. They saw an opportunity where the city council didn't. And they bought those buildings and the land, and they renovated. If the city council had done that, they would have nothing to complain about. And if they did want to sell it to SCAD, they should have made an agreement beforehand that SCAD have a more direct participation with the city. So we have a synchronicity, I can't even say it, a symbiotic relationship,
Right.
They're a cynical relationship. I'm sorry about my pronunciation.
Well, it is cynical because again, I'm not against SCAD or its president, but I find it interesting when there's certain areas that this institution wants to kind of claim, and the donations that the president makes to certain political leaders. I mean, that's maybe she's just a nice person.
Well, as an American, she can donate to whoever she wants, but people who elected, you don't just work for the people that donate to you.
Well, I know that, you know that.
You work for the people who also didn't vote for you or donate to you. You work for everyone in Savannah. And I think the elected officials forget that. They only want to work for the people that either donated or voted for them, and you can't do that. You have to work for the people who didn't even like you and want you in office as well.
Oh, definitely. I wish that needs to be heard far and wide, because you got folks now who care more about the ideology of a particular viewpoint and the party over integrity. But it's different times, I guess.
People are lost in the ideology, and they forget at the end of the day, whether you're a Republican, Democrat, Socialist, Libertarian, whatever, you're an American. We're in this together. If this country falls, we all suffer. All of us.
Mm-hmm.
Start thinking with that mentality, rather than, oh, you have a different idea than me, you're the enemy. No, that's not the enemy. That's just a person that disagrees with you. And we've forgotten this. And we keep wasting money. Talking about personnel, we should be hiring better qualified police officers rather than more cameras and stop cameras. I'm sorry.
Oh, man.
A smart city, which is the name you're giving it, that has a camera in every section, that does nothing to reduce violent crime. Nothing. All it is in the form of taxing the American public without their consent for any little thing. That's all it is. And the other information, and yes, that information is subject to third and fourth parties, because with every security you create, there's someone else who can create a lockpick. Sorry, nothing's completely secure, but the more cameras you have and the more software you implement, the less your security is. We need human police officers. We need to reform the police academy. And that's the only real change that will make a difference on violent crime.
Well, that and this issue of poverty, but it's interesting that you kind of segued into our first topic tonight, and I'm going to play a video. When we talk about government oversight and government wanting to control everything, even when we go to the bathroom, this first clip will kind of get us talking about this new federal direction or law or whatever they're trying to call it. Here we go.
The federal government has now been open for 24 hours after the shutdown ended late last night. By tomorrow, full SNAP benefits should be sent out to all beneficiaries, and that includes around 600,000 households in our state.
Tonight, we learned some TSA agents will get $10,000 bonuses for their work during the shutdown. At the same time, there are lingering questions about flights returning to normal and paychecks for all those federal workers.
And there are also local businesses worried about a hidden provision in the funding bill that bans many THC products. WFMY News 2's Nixon Norman talked to a farmer and a brewery about the road ahead.
Two local business owners, one making THC drinks, the other harvesting hemp, now face a federal rule that would put a major limit on their products. At Foothills Brewing in Winston-Salem, beer still drives the business, but they've also invested in THC drinks, selling little tree drinks at 10 milligrams each. New federal regulations would limit products to 0.4 milligrams of THC per container.
I'm not even sure if we would make a 0.4. It's not really enough to be an intoxicant.
Jamie Bartholomew says while their business will stay afloat, there could be trouble down the line.
It'll hurt our business, and we hired people just for hemp. So we'll either have to assimilate them into different roles or lay them off.
This won't only impact Foothills, but the dozens of companies they make drinks for in-house.
We make drinks for 12 or 14 other companies, right? And many of those companies have started and their only product is drinks.
Honeybee Hemp Farms in Louisville specializes in, well, you guessed it, CBD and THC honeys.
I would need to essentially make sure I'm using hemp extracts that have 0 THC in them.
Full spectrum hemp, prized for its trace THC, could no longer be used. Owner Alan Pickett says this would reshape his farm.
As far as my farming goes, I would need to really make sure that the genetics of the hemp that I'm growing have 0 THC in them, which is possible. It's just certainly a bit more difficult.
He says one of the upsides to all of this is that it keeps the conversation going.
I hope it inspires lawmakers and consumers to get more informed.
From brewery to beehive, North Carolina businesses built on hemp now face an uncertain future. Now businesses would have a year to comply, and changes to the rules could still come.
The body scanner revealed.
Wow. So haven't we been through this before with a different
I don't know how many times I have to stress this. The government just needs to allow full potency of all products related to THC. I'm sorry, but as far as people under 18, I think parents would buy it for their children if their children are going for cancer treatment, leukemia, anything to help take the acne, the age of their child suffering. And if it comes in a drink or a candy, that's even better. And a lot of kids, and I know I'm going into the medical industry, a lot of kids, when they're going for these treatments, they lose their appetite. They don't eat. And you have to eat in order to keep your strength up. And I hate to say it, these products inspire an appetite. And children need to have access to that so they can eat when they're going for cancer treatments. I wish the government would stop trying to implement their sense of morality into these products.
Isn't that ironic?
It's such a hypocrisy. You're going to allow extremes of 80% proof in alcohol, but you're going to limit these products to 4%. You're being a hypocrite. That's just my opinion.
Well, and here's the thing. I was talking over this with Chris, and one of the things he said, and I agree with. Okay. One, if I have a private plant, if I'm growing my own stuff, you can't tax it. So taxation is an issue, and we know the government, if they can't take your dang on money, then it's a problem. But the other part of it is, I wish people would even realize why marijuana is illegal in the first place. It's not a bad product. It is a plant, for God's sakes. Saying marijuana is illegal is the same thing as saying jalapenos and bell peppers are illegal. That's just the reality of it. Third, I want the government to stop policing everything. Here's the thing. If I'm going to do something that may endanger someone, like speeding, of course you police that. But if somebody wants to take a substance, whether it be alcohol, marijuana, or whatever, and they want to go and do what they want to do and present a health issue to themselves, but no one else, why are we bothering people? It's almost like the government wants to know everywhere you are, what you're doing, how you're doing it, and if you're not doing what they want you to do, then you get put back in this box.
It's basically wanting to tax people for every disapproved behavior is what it really is. And the more we do that, the more freedom we take away. And we do it under the facade of making the world safer. Here's the bitter reality. If you're going to be free, it's going to be dangerous. If you want to be safe, you'll have no freedom. You can't have both. I'm sorry, but you can't. And it's the same reason that they implemented seatbelts. They only revealed the studies that showed where seatbelts saved people's lives. They carefully edited out all the studies where people were killed because of wearing a seatbelt. Why? Because then the public would know a seatbelt, it'll only help you dependent on the type of wreck that you're in.
Of course.
It can't write you a ticket, and it can't make money off you, and it can't control your behavior. Now, if you're in the correct type of wreck, a seatbelt will save your life. But what if you're in the other type of wreck? The seatbelt will kill you. But they're not going to make money if they allow that portion of the study to be released.
Mm-hmm.
So everything is about making money off the people when they need to understand you're working for the people. You shouldn't be acting as a financial parasite off of the people, keeping them from ever, evolving. People are never going to be able to work themselves out of poverty if they're paying for every little thing in the world.
That's the problem, and that's we're going down a dangerous road now, where it's almost like every problem we have a government that wants to jump in and solve the problem. When in the world, I never saw this coming, but you have a whole administration worried about diversity, equity, and inclusion, which everybody has their own conversation and argument narrative around it. But are we really serious right now? We're going to not only cut out people's livelihoods in some cases, restrict funding because science is not real, I guess. And then, oh, lo and behold, we have these files that have your name on them and you doing lewd acts, but that's not true. I mean, we're in some dangerous places.
What I don't like is Title IV of the Civil Rights Act makes it illegal to discriminate. We should be looking at people's merit.
Right.
Stop trying to enforce morality, because a lot of these diversity and inclusion departments, seminars, training sessions are people trying to eliminate a portion of the human heart called opinion. You can't make everybody like you. I know you want to eliminate evil, but you can't reshape the human soul. You make basic laws, people abide by them to the best of their ability, and that's as far as you can go. Morality and ethics needs to be implemented by the family and by religion, not the government. So if you're concerned about people being bigoted, racist, hateful, spiteful, homophobic, whatever, then raise people better, enforce the churches and the synagogue and all the other religions, and work on your neighborhoods, implementing a sense of ethics and morality where people are civil to one another. That's how you fight hatred, not through every little law you can think of. It's only to the point where people are arrested because they insulted somebody. Really? I called you a jerk, so I'm going to jail for 10 years? Oh, well, that was very hateful. I have the right to not like you. As long as I don't beat you up, take away your right to vote, deny you a job you're qualified for, deny you a product you have the money for, I can hate you all I like.
That's
true. I don't harm you. So if you want to eliminate hatred from the human heart, work on the church, work on the neighborhood, and work on the family. That's how you do it, not the government.
I wish more people would understand that. Well, we're going to step away for a few messages and we will be right back. Hold tight.
Savannah, are you looking for some of the best Southern soul food? Then check out Kim's Cafe at 714 MLK Boulevard. The food is so good, you'll think that your mother cooked it. Located in the heart of Savannah, Kim's has a menu that includes breakfast anytime, lunch when you need it, and dinner so you won't have to cook when you get home. They also cater all types of events and can host your reserved event at the restaurant. Come see what everyone has been raving about. Great food, great atmosphere, and a great time. Kim's Cafe, 714 MLK Boulevard in beautiful downtown Savannah.
Hey there! Are you ready to amplify your voice and embrace your passion? Tune in to Our Black Media Network, where community comes first and every story matters. We're here 24/7, delivering powerful content on everything from financial literacy to the latest in sports and mental health. We are unapologetically real, reflecting the heartbeat of our community with programs that inspire, empower, and drive change. Join us on all major media platforms to celebrate our unique voices and advocate for the change we want to see. With over 50K monthly viewers, our network is your go-to destination for authentic, engaging content. Be a part of the movement. Be a part of the change. Tune in to Our Black Media Network today and let your voice be heard.
All right, so we're going to jump kind of to a different topic, but related to what we've been talking about. And, you know, for a while now, I've kind of known about this phenomenon called private prisons, where we know when people go to jail, sometimes they go to prison. It's supposed to be a public thing, but they're privatizing some now. And with the rise of the ICE crackdown issues across the nation, you're seeing more and more private prisons. We'll talk about that, but let's begin with this clip really quick.
There are fresh signs the Trump administration is planning to ramp up deportations to a scale never before seen in the U.S. after issuing a request for proposals online asking contractors to submit plans for new immigration detention facilities, along with proposals for transportation, security guards, medical support, and other services worth as much as $45 billion over the next 2 years. That's according to the New York Times. The move is raising more questions about the future of the Union County Jail, which we previously reported is up for grabs to private buyers. With the potential, it'll be converted into New Jersey's latest ICE facility. Senior political correspondent David Cruz reports.
It's probably not a big surprise to many of you that private prison companies, mainly Geo Group and Core Civic, who contributed more than $1 million to Donald Trump's presidential campaign, are champing at the bit at their prospects for big profits in 2025. Here's Tennessee-based Core Civic's CEO Damon Hinninger speaking on the company's fourth quarter earnings report conference call in February, discussing the change of administration in Washington and a flurry of executive orders and legislation.
The change in presidential administration on January 20th has ushered in significant policy and legislative changes that directly impact our business. We believe Core Civic is exceptionally well positioned operationally and financially to meet what we expect to be a sharp acceleration in demand from our partners, particularly our key federal partners, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or ICE, and the United States Marshal Service. ICE has estimated that this act could require 60,000 to 110,000 additional detention beds.
And now the money for this rapid expansion is about to flow, as the administration has set aside $45 billion for new detention facilities and related services across the country. First up to take advantage of the funding is Florida-based Geo Group, which has signed on to reopen Delaney Hall in Newark as a 1,000-bed detention center. Newark Mayor Ras Baraka told a rally outside the facility recently that he'll stop the group from opening.
They have been very brazen and very arrogant about telling people that they're opening up, giving them dates that they're going to open up, sent us a letter and said, hey, we're opening up, have not taken out one permit, have not gotten one inspection, have not gone to the planning board to get a change of use, have not done anything. They believe that they're going to open up, and we're saying you're not going to open up here in the city of Newark.
Meanwhile, a new front has opened in the battle. Union County voted last month to seek requests for proposals that would lead to the eventual sale of the 600-bed former Union County Jail in Elizabeth. But advocates are skeptical that cash-strapped governing bodies like Union County won't care too much about what happens at the facility once it's sold.
And that's why we're here to make sure and urge our local leaders to step up, to actually have a commitment that they won't allow this to happen. Not even here in Union County, not even in Newark, not within our state.
But Union County Manager Edward Oatman said at the county commissioners meeting that this wasn't about opening a new immigration detention facility in Elizabeth, against which activists have demonstrated for years.
We are committed to ensuring that any future use of the property reflects the values and needs of our community. To that end, the RFP will include clear limitations on how the property can be used. Specifically, if any proposals are received from operators interested in continuing to use it as a correctional facility, we will, consistent with the state law, restrict any use to housing only individuals involved in the criminal justice system, such as those facing criminal charges.
That's a bunch of bullshit. But anyway, what are your thoughts?
Well, we already need prison reform for public prisons and jail and detention centers. Privatizing prisons and jails and detention centers open up a whole Pandora box of more civil rights violations. If we establish strict regulations on the private sector, if they open a prison, maybe it would be better, maybe it would eliminate some of the burden from the taxpayer, but because it's a capitalistic venture, they're going to try to make money, and it benefits them to have more people in prison to make money. So that
exactly
a whole gaping issue of them violating all types of ethics is to get more people in their building.
Let me tell you how it works, because I've experienced with it because of family members. But what happens is you can charge people to park when you come visit your loved ones. You can charge them an admission fee. You can charge $10 for a sandwich that you can get down the street for $1. You can charge $5 for a soda. You could charge $20 to call. So you're making money off of people who most of the time are already strapped for cash.
And they're all
my thing. Well, but hold on. My thing is, if we're going to I thought the idea was to deport, and it's not. The idea is to let's get free labor and to charge them and make them poor.
I'm not just talking about deportation. I'm also talking about regular incarcerations. I mean, when you're incarcerated for a crime, you're already paying for committing a crime. Why may you and your family members pay more?
I agree.
Okay, so whether it's deportation or whether you killed somebody or robbed somebody, you're already in jail or prison. You're already paying for your crime. I think it's just like I said, when you privatize something like this, from having governmental violations to now having the private sector violating them. So I think we need to establish in each city, county, and state strict regulations for how these capitalist corporations or companies run their prisons, their detention centers, and their jails. So we can ensure they're not abusing the power by feeding off of the prisoners, okay, or their families.
We will hope that they had some ethics, but it's just a money making endeavor, and it's sad that
regulations, because in their fever to make money, They're going to break every ethical rule that you can think of.
Well, right, and it's like now you show up to people's companies and just detain folks. I thought we were going to send them back, but most of the time, this not only because of ICE things, but a lot of oppressed and marginalized communities have to deal with the foolishness as well. Well, let's look a little closer at this, you all. Let's take a closer look at the whole art and science of these privatized prisons. Let me cue this up. Okay.
Academy for Social Change presents Private Prisons. Did you know that the United States has the largest prison population in the world? In 2020, there were 1.8 million people in the prison system. So how does the government incarcerate that many people? And what happens when government-operated jails run out of space? As a result of federal prisons overcrowding, private corporations started developing their own facilities to house more people. Those who supported privatizing the prison system argued that it saved the government money. However, as these private companies created more detention centers, public officials and activists questioned whether these new facilities were actually harmful to the criminal justice system. Private prisons are owned and run by companies that have contracts with the federal and state governments that allow them to take in and hold incarcerated people. In the 1970s, President Nixon declared the war on drugs, which meant that he wanted tough-on-crime policies which would enforce strict punishments for any drug-related offense. In the 1980s, President Reagan announced that he would continue this agenda with even more force. As a result, more and more people were arrested and sentenced to time in prison, and public facilities started running out of space. The first private prisons, many of which were juvenile detention centers, were established during the Reagan administration, but corporations continued to rapidly build new facilities throughout the next 2.5 decades. One of the most famous cases of corruption in private prisons, known as the Kids for Cash scandal, involved 2 judges in Pennsylvania who gave juvenile offenders unusually long sentences. Authorities found out that these judges had accepted over $2 million worth of bribes from private prisons over the course of 4 years in exchange for sending children and teenagers to these facilities for longer periods of time. The 2 biggest private prison corporations that arose are CoreCivic and the GEO Group, which control over half the private prison industry. Together, they make over $3.5 billion per year and have continued to expand since 2005 by buying out smaller companies in the industry. In 2016, after the Department of Justice announced that private prisons would be phased out, both companies lost 50% of their stocks. However, the year after the inauguration of President Trump, both companies saw a more than 50% increase in stock prices. The Trump administration spent more than double the amount of money, about $595 million, towards contracting the GEO Group than the Obama administration. As of 2018, approximately 9% of federal and state prisoners were held in private institutions. While this may seem like a small population, it is important to note that the number of people housed in private prisons grew at a disproportionately fast rate. This is because nearly 1 in every 4 prisons built in the 1980s were constructed by a private company. One reason for this rapid expansion was the U.S. Immigration and Naturalization Services, INS, worked with private companies to detain undocumented immigrants. As of 2019, more than 80% of immigration detainees are held in private facilities. Many of these centers are located near the U.S.-Mexico border. News reports and interviews with formerly incarcerated people reveal that the conditions inside these prisons, and in particular immigration detention centers, are inhumane. The food is sometimes inedible, the buildings are unsanitary, and there is often very limited, if any, access to health and education services. Private prisons hire fewer staff, pay them less, and provide significantly less training than public ones. This has led to higher rates of violence between imprisoned people and staff members and overall more security issues. Critics also emphasize that because these companies operate for profit, that is all they truly care about. CoreCivic and the GEO Group have campaigned to convince politicians to incarcerate more people because the more beds they fill, the more money they make. For example, they lobbied to prevent immigration reform laws that would ease pathways to citizenship so that they could continue to house undocumented people. Criminal justice organizations have stated that the focus on profit allows the government to not take responsibility for making reforms. It also continues the practice of mass incarceration or imprisoning large populations, particularly marginalized communities. Since 2016, these critics of the private prison industry have pushed some elected officials and large companies to support divestment from private prisons. Activists stress that private prisons are just one part of the issue of mass incarceration.
That's a lot, but that's the danger we're walking into. I tell you,
I told you, if you think government, prisons and jails have problems, the private sector is going to have just as many. This is why each state needs to make regulations on how these capitalist ventures create a prison and operate one. And they haven't done that. And because of it, they're making money off the prisoners. And that's wrong. I'm sorry, but this is not supposed to be a profit venture.
Nope. It's supposed to be rehabilitation, but that's nowhere near what happens.
As far as detention centers for people being deported, not only are they supposed to be temporary, but the tax money should have been put on plane flights, bus trips, to give them back home. Not keeping them in a tent or a detention facility for almost a year. No, it was for transportation, so we can transport them back to their native country.
Right.
And not doing that. Instead, you're making money off of just sitting them in a detention center and letting them rot. And they're just making money off of that. Now, I'm not against deporting people that came here illegally. I am against treating them inhumane and in a detention center forever. Spend our money on transporting them back to their country, not on imprisoning them.
I agree. That's
my take.
That would work. But let's kind of shift gears. We're going to only go up to 6:45 tonight. Because I got to go have a deadline I got to meet. But let's talk about this thing called term limits. This gets in the way of a lot of things. And so I'm going to read this first paragraph out. And I want to get your feedback on it. Term limits are laws that restrict the number of terms an elected official can serve in a particular office. For example, the U.S. president is limited to 2 terms, which is 8 years, 4 years each, by the 22nd Amendment. But there are no term limits for members of the United States Congress. Proponents argue term limits reduce corruption and entrenchment, while opponents say they can lead to a loss of experience and expertise in government. Well, it looks like the expertise in government thing is out the window. That's hogwash.
I'm sorry, but the reason we put term limits on the presidency of FDR, he would have never been going if he hadn't passed away. He was going on his 4th term. Was that 16 years? And that's the reason they really, created that law. So a precedent wouldn't be there forever. And we should have the same term limits on senators, congressmen, and everyone else.
I agree.
Because everyone in this country, if they have a good idea or set of ideas, should be allowed to run and try them. They can't do that and get elected if there's someone there for 40, 50, 60 years. I'm sorry, but if you're there that long, do you really have any new ideas to solve problems? Why not give another American a chance to resolve issues? You've been there, 4 or 5 decades?
Well, I look at Nancy Pelosi and Mitch McConnell as examples. They were I appreciate the service, which it was that's not service, it's all about the money. But I think, at the point where you're in a space, and this is with anything, if you're in a space for an excessive amount of time, you need to have the common sense to step aside. You know what I mean? I don't think public service was meant for you to make a career out of it.
It's not even a career. I don't think public office was meant for you to hold it till you die.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. You're not a king, you're not a queen, you're not an advisor to the king or the queen. We're not a monarchy, all right? And we're not meant to be a monarchy. We're meant to give new Americans, new people, elected to office, give them a chance to solve the problems that were there. And after maybe a decade, maybe stretch it to 2 decades, okay, time to try somebody else's ideas. Time for new blood. There are other people that are part of this nation that need to have input into making it better. And we're not allowing that when we allow people to hold public office for 40, 50, 60, 70 years.
Yeah, I think even on the local level it's so important because, you know, right in the city of Savannah, for example, they just created term limits. And I'm like, oh, y'all created term limits after the mayor has served 16, 20 years. Okay, I get it. That makes a lot of sense. Now I've done the bad deed, so let me police and restrict everybody else.
Well,
Okay.
think about it. They didn't do that until FDR went too far, you know? And we're learning more and more about FDR. A lot of the programs that he instituted that we're all addicted to now wouldn't have existed, and the economy was already repairing itself. But rather than allowing that to happen, he instituted, you know, the great deal, you know.
Right.
And
well, at least he didn't come up with the big beautiful bill.
yeah. I'm a big beautiful bill, by the way. But my point is, people need to step aside and allow new ideas to solve old problems. You never know. The next person elected might have a more innovative idea to resolve the issues we're solving. You know, I think after 20 years, you need to step down in the Senate. Sorry. That's just
Definitely. I think honestly at the Senate, 3 terms is a lot. I mean, it's you don't have, I mean, come on. I'm like you don't have that many ideas.
And look how out of touch they become after being there for over 30 or 40 years. They don't know what prices are in the grocery store. They don't know the simplest common things.
Nope.
And they're in touch with people. No, you've been on Capitol Hill too long. You're out of touch with people. Time for you to go back to the real world and allow someone else to go to Capitol Hill.
I agree. All right, Clint, we're going to call it a night. I appreciate you. We'll be back for our viewers. We'll be back next Sunday, and hopefully our other co-hosts will join us. If not, we'll do it again, same time, same place. Have a great week now.
Bye-bye.
Hello, world. We're here, serving Savannah, Atlanta, Jacksonville, Brooklyn, Houston, Philadelphia, Los Angeles, and the world. The best music all the time. The greatest songs ever made, every time. Tune in to Hot 2100 Savannah and get a taste for your ears. Hot 2100 Savannah, serving Savannah and the world.
Like that.